Welcome back to Level Up, the Career Playbook, or as I am now calling it, How to Be Better at Your Job. This is the podcast where we cut through the noise and give you the real, actionable tools to grow your career, build wealth, and thrive at work. All right, let's be real. The job market right now, it's unpredictable. Layoffs are happening all across every industry, of course, with Doge. And I know firsthand because I've been there. I was recently laid off, and I started this podcast because I got laid off. And like so many people today, I had that moment of, all right, what now? That experience made me realize something. We can't afford to leave our careers to chance. If we want to be layoff-proof, recession-proof, and financially secure, we have to take control of our careers, our money, and our personal growth. And that is exactly why today's guest is perfect for the conversation. Tricia Mowatt is a global HR and payroll leader, an entrepreneur, a mentor, a wife, and a mom. And somehow she makes it all work. She's built a career that's stable, financially rewarding, and constantly evolving. Now, if you've ever struggled like me to balance your job, your side gig, your personal life, or if you're looking for the key to promotions, pay raises, and long-term financial success, this episode is for you. All right, what are we going to get into? The number one mindset shift that keeps Tricia winning, how she structures her day for max productivity without burning out, the key to getting promoted and making more money, why most people fail at work and how you're going to be able to stand out, and what every professional needs to know about their paycheck and benefits. This episode is loaded with insights you can start applying today. And so with that, let's get into it. Trish, how are you doing? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm so glad to be here with you and to have this discussion. I think we don't talk about this kind of stuff enough. Maybe those of us who talk shop amongst ourselves, but not to the wider audiences.
I know you do. I remember when I first, so people that are listening, Trish and I worked together in a previous world. In one of the ERGs, she gave a seminar on, I think, side hustle and money management or something like that. So you've been trying to spread the word of how to be better in your small groups, but I'm hoping that we can spread the word of how to be better to a larger audience. You've been doing it though.
Oh, absolutely. And the funny thing is, all of that was born out of my career in HR, which is, it's an ironic kind of a thing that I recognize the need for other people to have other income streams. And we can get into that and how that kind of fueled the things that I did.
You helping other people be better is just built into your system. We've connected. You've always been rooting for me and looking out for me. You're just different in a good way. And so we'll connect and figure some of that out together. But okay, each of my podcasts, it's more of a sports-related theme. This is the MambaHR, named after Kobe Bryant. So it's a sports-related career level up. This podcast, we'll do it in segments, sports-related podcasts. Segment 1 is the pregame. And we're going to talk about how did you build your career? So we're going to start from the beginning. Now, I know that payroll and HR probably was not your childhood dream.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me either, but I'm glad I'm here. Tell me, how did you end up where you are right now?
So yeah, nobody wakes up and says, oh, I want to do payroll. Nobody in payroll says that they want to do payroll. So I'll put that out there, but it's very, very overlooked. And I think it's a career that more people should be looking into it. So for me, I've always known that I wanted to help people. That was my driver from I was a very little age. And that manifested for me in wanting to go to medical school. My entire life, I was going to be a doctor. I'm going to medical school. That's it. Till I was in college, I'd gotten a scholarship to attend a program, an internship while I was in college. It was called Minorities in Medicine. We were at Cornell, and I got to interact with medical school students. We were at the medical school, and we were at we were at hospitals and doing all sorts of things, exposure to a lot of different things. And in talking to the doctors, I realized that a lot of them were not happy. And when I got to the root of why they were not happy, it was because they could not practice medicine the way that they wanted to. At that time, medicine was changing to what it's more like now, where your doctor doesn't know who you are. They have no clue who you are. They see you once a year, maybe twice a year at best. Your number coming in and out the door, and they're driven by the finances. A lot of them complain about how much they owed. At that time, it was very typical to come out of medical school owing $300,000. Now, I'm an immigrant. $300,000 was a house and then some at that time. And realizing that the kind of medicine that I wanted to be practicing was not the medicine that I was going to be able to practice was like a huge game changer for me. It upended my entire life. But I was already 3 years, I'm 3 years into my degree. What am I going to do? Tailspin. I had no clue what I was going to do, but I was going to finish this degree because, I'm paying for school. I have a partial scholarship. I'm paying for school. And I come out of college not knowing what to do because I was very one-minded. From when I was a little kid, that was all I was going to do.
So your undergrad was what?
So my degree is in biology major, chemistry minor. And yeah, that was my love. I love the sciences. So I come out of school and I get a job at what was an investment bank that was eventually bought by Credit Suisse, doing research in their healthcare team where they were doing mergers and acquisitions, primarily focused in healthcare and biomed and technology. So some of that actually came in handy, but it was a job, a job. It kept me just over broke because I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And I continued not knowing what I wanted to do because that was all I wanted to do. And then I thought entrepreneurship was the next thing, but entrepreneur doing what exactly? Because I had thought I would be a private practice doctor. That's what I had wanted to do. So I said, okay, I'll go back to school and I'll get my MBA and we'll focus on management. We'll figure out what that looks like. Went back to school and focused more on small business and entrepreneurship because I love that. Every immigrant has a small business or entrepreneurship story. And so that's what I kind of focused on. Came out of school, and like a lot of people who came out of school before COVID or people who are coming out of school now, it was a difficult job market. Still did not know what I wanted to do at all. No clue. I happened to get an interview at Toyota, and this actually changed the trajectory of my entire career. A lovely lady, and women have driven how my career has evolved, and this is Women's History Month, so I'm going to focus on that. And so she took a chance on hiring me. I had nothing, right? And she hired me into their strategic research and planning department. Now, I had done research at the investment banks, putting together pitch books and doing research of that kind. So she kind of, hey, you got these transferable skills, we'll bring you into Toyota. And I really found myself at Toyota, to be honest with you. It was a great place, a great learning institution, Toyota's holding company. And I got exposure to a bunch of different things. Eventually, one of the things that I got to do was to compile data for Toyota that they used at the bottom of every, companies have like data at the bottom of their press releases. Toyota employs this many people across this many, whatever. Somebody has to compile that data. And I remember we had congressional hearings, and the CEO needed data compiled. So that was what I was doing. I was compiling that data. That meant that I had to deal with the HR teams of the different Toyota companies across the United States, Canada, Mexico, and then eventually had to meet with the HR team and the research team in Japan. So the exposure to the different HR teams led me want to say, hey, I like the people on those teams, all these different Toyota companies across the country. And I got more interested in what it was that they were doing. And so I said, maybe I'd love to see if I can transfer into HR and learn what that entails. I was in New York. The larger HR team for Toyota was in California, and I didn't want to move to California. So that meant I had to, if I wanted to change careers into HR, I would have to leave the organization. It took me 2 years to actually leave. And someone, again, took a chance on me and hired me into their HR team to do benefits. And because they were like, we think that you could learn this. You have a great personality. Personalities will get you in the door when other things won't. And I think personality got me in the door at Toyota. Personality got me in the next job.
I want you to finish. I need you to finish, but let me dig there. Advocated for you.
Yes.
Which every one of my guests, the people that are the highest performers who I'm trying to interview, they all had somebody that looked out for them. But they had something that somebody saw in them. And so my question for you is, because I have so many people that reach out to me on LinkedIn saying, I'm trying to get into HR. I'm trying to be a business partner. I can't get any traction. But you were able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
How? Was it you reaching out and applying for every job? Of course, when they get to know you, they're going to be like, oh, you're amazing. But what were you doing to be able to be on the radar?
So I was willing to start from the bottom. I applied for like generalists, like bottom of the barrel kind of positions. And I was upfront. I'm a career changer, really interested in this, kind of thing. Having the MBA helped a lot, right? But I think once I was able to get my foot into the door to an interview and my personality, I literally interviewed maybe 2 places and got an offer from the first place. So I didn't even, when I started looking for a job, it was over very quickly. But I think having really good conversations with people, I think people can sense who you are. And yeah, I just had really good conversations. And I think knowing what was my driver behind that I wanted to help people, that was, I think,
so
one
they
of the things
sense
that
the
helped
passion
me.
within you, because
Yes.
when you're saying your personality, I had a couple people like ask me to mentor them. And one of the people that I'm mentoring, great personality, but we had some communication issues. We talk really fast, blah, 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 and it doesn't come across as well, right, when you're interviewing. Was it something that you had to practice in order to have these great conversations? Was it just natural for you, which is possible? When you say you had these great conversations once you got your foot in the door, is there prep work there, or is it more just of a natural passion that showed up?
I think for me, I was always a people person. So, I wanted to help people. You have to like wanting to deal with people to be able to like come across that way. And the fact that at Toyota, I did deal with a lot of people across the company, across the various companies, and got exposure to so many different cultures and backgrounds. In New York City, you don't have a choice. And I think that really helped me quite a lot because I was not in an area where everyone looks the same, talks the same, has the same background, same history. You get to know people and understand that although we all have different backgrounds and experiences, underneath it, we're all people, right? And people are mostly good. So I think that really helped. Being a people person comes across, I think, when you're sitting across from someone and they're warm and you can pick up on that. People sense good people. Everyone says that babies can sense good people. I think people can sense good people for the most part. And
good people can sense good people.
Well, that's true. That's true. I'm lucky that translates for me when I'm having a conversation with somebody, that I'm open, my body language, I'm looking at them, I'm talking in a way that they understand. I'm a New Yorker, so sometimes I come fast. I have a level of interest, and I think that just comes across. I don't know. You told me we've had such great conversations. Like, we had great connections. I feel
it was just natural. So like thinking back on it, we just connected partly because of the job, but I don't know, you were just naturally somebody that I wanted to get to know. You had knowledge and it was just genuine. So that's a great way to think.
And that was really helpful for me when I went into benefits, because you deal with people. You deal with people at their best of times and their worst of times. And you need someone with empathy to sit in that role, because if you're just rubber stamping documents and you are robotic, you do not make that connection with people. People do not have a good experience.
And now with AI, if you're just rubber stamping, you're going to be out of a job in 5 years anyway. So you have to add more value. The takeaway here is you were willing to start at the bottom.
Absolutely.
You applied at the bottom level roles. You applied for as many roles just to get your foot in the door. And once somebody gave you that first interview, that's when the natural personality, you weren't scared to be who you were. Your curiosity and being genuine, also having an MBA does help, but I think a lot of other things showed up. But you started at the bottom, even with an MBA. Even if you were about to be a doctor, you humbled yourself enough to say, let me start at the bottom. And so people that are trying to get into HR, they always try to get in and be like, how can I be a business partner? And I always tell them, go start as a recruiting coordinator, start as a generalist. You start at the bottom and then you look at the salary, 60, 70K, oh no. And it's like, I don't know how else really to help you out. And so starting at the bottom is huge. Now, moving to the next step here, you're now, I think, a generalist? Is that the title? Or what?
I was a benefits something or another. I can't remember.
Benefits coordinator.
But I was actually doing some generalist work. So here's the thing. Just because that was my title doesn't mean that that's all I was going to do.
Well,
I got my foot in the door to learn as much as I possibly could, right? I'm there to be a sponge. I know that I know nothing. So in addition to getting my foot in the door, I also signed up for classes to learn as much as I could. I reported into the person who was in charge of payroll. So I learned as much as I could from him about payroll to cover him. Hey, you're going to need coverage in case you're out. Let me learn that stuff.
That was you reaching out on your own, just saying?
Absolutely.
How soon of you starting did you start doing that type of like reaching out and trying to learn more?
I think pretty quickly, to be honest with you, because they knew coming in that I wasn't coming from an HR background. So it was actually really lucky of me to be in a place where people were willing to part with knowledge and to teach me as well. And I think having that personality and being able to connect with people who are, you form a connection with people, they're willing to help you out a little bit more, but also saying, I want to take some things off of your hands if I can. Who doesn't want to get rid of some work, right? Help me help you. The last thing, though, I will say is also being in an environment that encourages learning is also really positive, because not every company is a learning organization. Some people need you to come in immediately, ground running, get it done. And then there are companies, and I think startups and smaller organizations are more willing to have people learn. Coming into a learning organization is very, very important as well. So people were willing to, again, kind of like how you and I connected, we were across the country, different teams, and we were able to form connections. This was before Zoom was really a thing, and we were really on virtual as well, and forming connections with people virtually, which is tougher to do than people think, but I was able to form connections. And then other people were willing to like coach and mentor me and impart knowledge. And then I could say, hey, if you ever need help with X or Y, I'd love to be able to help you out. So being able to take things off of other people's hands.
So you were specific though. Were you surgical? Like, okay, I'm going to find out the person that leads payroll. I'm going to find out somebody that leads this department, and you would email them or whatever and say, hey, Johnny, can I take something? Like, what specifically should you say if you're going to do the same thing now?
So for me, I was in benefits. So benefits trickles down to payroll naturally. So I was like, I want to learn how, if I do X, what does that happen for you? How does that impact payroll? So that was going to payroll was an easy progression because everything that hits benefits is going to hit payroll, right? And then for some of the other things, it wasn't so busy in benefits all the time. So if I had downtime, it would be like, hey, so-and-so, I see that you've got, this or that going on. For laying off people, do you need help getting the paperwork together? Somebody is getting hired next week. Can I sit in on orientation? Is that okay? That kind of stuff. And reaching out to people specifically as I saw that things were happening and say, do you mind if and people were always more than willing to allow me to be a part of things and to sit in on something or whatever it was. And I was able to soak things up that way. And in exchange, it'd be like, if you need help with X or Y, I'd love to be able to help you. And maybe you can tell me if I'm doing this right or wrong. There's another way to kind of, get a little extra learning by taking something off people's hands. And can you critique how I did this? Or did I do this correctly? And I just took things on.
I think what I want people to take away from this is you went out there and asked the questions and said, how can I take stuff off your plate? Because sometimes people are waiting for a random person to come up and be like, hey, you look like you have...
No, you have to be proactive.
You have to be really, like you said, proactive, but you have to be specific with, let me take something off your plate. Is there something that I can do that's going to make your life easier? You have to be really direct with that, and then people will help. I've never heard somebody say no when somebody's really showing that gumption to go out and be like, I want to be better, I want to learn more. But it's not going to just magically land on your plate. For you were doing this because you wanted to learn more. Was there a specific moment or there's a moment that was like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do, especially because you were in HR and then there's payroll. Yeah. Were there specific moments it was like, okay, I made the right choice. I shouldn't be a doctor?
I definitely knew that I made the right choice not going to medical school when I made that choice. I did. Absolutely. Because I knew that what I wanted to do was not what I would be able to do. So I absolutely 100% knew that I made that right choice. I will say in my HR career, even now, can I say that I made the right choice? Absolutely not. I don't have it all figured out. No, but I've done things that have made me feel fulfilled both at work and outside of work. And that's okay too. I feel like people think they have to have it all figured out. They have to have it all figured out right away. They've got to check every box. And do I feel completely fulfilled through work? And that's not my philosophy at all. Absolutely not. I think you can do good work at work and find fulfillment elsewhere as well. And it's a philosophy I think that you will not hear from most people in HR. But I think that we have to acknowledge that there are plenty of great people who go to work, do good work, support their families. But is it the fulfilling thing that they want to do? Probably not. But they're okay with that because they find fulfillment outside of work. And that's fine.
And I think, I forgot what I think it was with Aisha DeBerry, where you need to go outside of work. We're looking for work to give you everything.
Yes.
And to fulfill every moment and every, no, let's go and make sure you're doing a good job. To that point, though, I don't think that people think of payroll as a career. I think you said maybe it's not as fulfilling.
I didn't think of payroll as a career. I tripped into payroll. So I've had various roles in HR. And I've done everything across the gambit in HR. Started in benefits, definitely was doing generalist things, business partner stuff, all the things. I've done all the things except for compensation because I hated compensation. That was my next thing and I hated it. HR systems, all the things I've done. Payroll reported to me at some point. And this is like another natural progression. Payroll I went into because I needed a break from HR. And people think that I'm crazy because they're like, what do you mean? You went to payroll for a break from HR? When I had my son, I realized that there is a huge emotional investment in HR. It takes a lot of emotional work. People don't recognize that. And I said, I need that for my son. I don't think that I have the capacity right now to invest the amount that I do into the people at work and still have enough of me for my son who I just had. And so I said I needed to sidestep. And originally I was just going to take time off, take a year off of work and then figure it out within that time. But life has a way of finding you. People have a way of finding you. And so, I decided that I was going to do payroll as a break from HR because of the work that it takes to be in HR. And I like it. I'm a numbers person. I like that stuff. I still get to help people, even though they don't know that I'm helping them on the back end. For the most part, you are very invisible in payroll. It is a very critical role. It is very core to the business. And I actually do like it. And now that I'm here in this space and have been in this space for some time, I do enjoy it. I like problem solving, and going back to day-to-day being employee facing, I think would be very, very difficult because it does take a lot of work to be employee facing that I don't think that many of us in HR acknowledge. It is very stressful, and people outside of HR definitely don't think that at all, but it is a lot. I've seen births, I've seen deaths, I've seen dismemberments, I've had people crying, for their personal things, people dying, just the whole entire thing. And if you have a connection with these people, they're not just a number, they're real people living lives. It takes a lot out of you. Even let's say you have to terminate somebody, right? In HR, I've done mass layoffs where you have to, in person, laying people off one after the next after the next. And I remember after I did my first mass layoff, the next day I was sick. I was completely I was sick, and I had never been that sick. And I didn't realize that it was just the mental toll of having to tell people that it is no fault of your own. You no longer have a job, even though your manager doesn't want you to go either. But, and that mental toll, I just knew that I didn't have it in me. So here I am in payroll.
So you can make a career out of payroll.
Oh, you absolutely can.
Rewarding, like you said, to you. It's allowed you, you're freed up to be but I would assume be a better mom. And so I think I didn't know that I could make HR as a career and be an HR business partner until I had somebody take me under their wing and really show me the ropes a while back. And so I think the same thing here is if you're looking for a career with some stability and some good financial.
Very stable. Let me tell you this, having sat and done payroll, both consultatively, because I've consulted with small businesses, and sitting in a global payroll, either manager or director role, it is so understaffed. Nobody says, I'm going to do payroll. Nobody does it. I'm telling you, there is no career. No one says, this is my career that I'm going to do. Here's what happens when people end up in payroll. They've been doing accounts payable, and they've dealt with payroll people, and they think maybe they might want to do this. They've been in HR, maybe, and they've dealt with payroll people, and they think maybe they want to do this. Typically, that's what will happen.
Yeah. Or you're in a generous role and you just have to do it.
Rarely.
There's nobody else.
You might have to take that on. Or you're in a smaller business where you're wearing multiple hats and you are HR, payroll, blah, 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 blah. Check the box. You are everything. Nobody goes into payroll directly to say, I'm going into payroll. And because of that, we need more people. If I'm staffing for payroll, it is so difficult to find really good people in payroll. And the higher up you get, the harder it is. I can tell you, I told Brian all the time, if I don't have at least one or two people in my LinkedIn inbox every week about a role, something is wrong. I know that the economy is, if I don't have people in my inbox. And my last few jobs, I have not gone looking. They have found me.
Yeah.
Because as you get more experience and you go higher up, people retire and they come out of the business, and who's there, to come up, or to people who have multi-state, multi-jurisdictional, multi-country, large organizations, small org that are able to do all these different things across payroll. It's not just push a button, issue a check. There's a lot more going on. And so we need people. I have been encouraging people to get into payroll as a career. You want stability? Payroll is the last to go unless you are doing something really wrong. Payroll is the last to go.
I will say this. You are my secret weapon. Maybe it's a secret, not a secret to you. I'm building an HRIS type of app. I'm building an app to help people. This is going to sound really bad, but to automate layoffs, because like you said, that whole process of laying people off is stressful. And so how can you make that better? But the one person that knows about all the things that have to happen in that process is the payroll person. Now, you're a little bit different because you just know everything. You've been doing benefits. But if I was going to try to figure out who's the one person that can help me coordinate everything, it's the payroll person. So you have impact. Now, okay, I don't even want to go down that road because we spent quite a while in the segment. So I want to move on because we're going to touch some other things.
Yes.
Second segment is called the Power Up. Let's talk about career growth, and financial success.
Yes.
You were talking about it's hard to find good people.
Oh, yeah.
And so you've managed and you've promoted a lot of people in your career now. What is the few things, or what's the main thing, or what is something, or the some things that makes people stand out at work?
Willingness to learn, especially where I sit here. Things are constantly changing. Laws are changing, rules are changing, processes. Each company has their own internal processes. systems change. If you are a person who's very tied to this is my box and the box has to be like this, it will not work. The best performing people who I've worked with are open to learning, constantly learning, can pivot and change. Not everyone is good with change, but if you are, great for you. And I think just in general, it's good for people's career success.
Is that willingness to learn or is it flexibility? I mean, it's both, but the reason why I'm asking this question is when you say willingness to learn, is that actually being active saying, hey, Trish, teach me more? Or it's one thing, it's like, hey, we have a new procedure, Brian, I need you to follow these steps. And somebody's like, okay, that's cool. But when you're saying a willingness to learn, is it really more about the flexibility and being open and adaptable to change? Is that the main thing? Or I'm trying to understand if somebody wants to be the number one person, what should they start doing today?
Yeah, I think just like I was, you have to be proactive about it. It's not reactive. And if you're, okay, we've changed from using yellow crayons to red crayons. Okay, no problem. I'm more interested in persons like, why are we using yellow crayons when we could be using green crayons? Or green crayons will do this much better. Or, I've looked at this green crayon and I think it's a better process. You know what I mean? Actively and proactively seeking out ways to do things better, faster, whatever it is, and then imparting that knowledge, I think is very, very valuable and very important. They're not the same things, right?
Yeah.
So it's great if you're in the role and you're willing to, if we change something, you're willing to change with it. But if you're the person who's like actively seeking out improvements, ways to do things, I'm learning new things. Hey, I've learned how to do this better, or I've learned how to do this. Let me share this with you. I will work with that person 10 times over, hands down.
And for somebody listening, I think for me at least, I keep applying what I think to what everybody else thinks, but it doesn't mean you have to do a trillion things to learn and to give recommendations. It's just when a process or a project comes your way or something that you work on comes your way, asking the what and then the why.
Yes.
Asking the why and digging a little bit more and being just genuinely curious to understand why. Because generally when you do ask why, you'll probably be like, well, I've done this 1,000 times and actually there's a better way to do this. And then speaking up on the why. It does not have to be this monumental thing where you're doing 700 different new things every week. Don't make it that complicated. It's just as in your regular workday, ask those questions why and then start digging and add value.
One of the things I learned at Toyota was the 5 whys. You ask why 5 times. You go back, right, to get to the root cause. And if you do, maybe you can figure out a better way to do things. Maybe you can, spot an improvement.
That's how you so easily show value. And you're not doing anything mind-blowing. You're just asking why 5 times.
Yeah.
And that puts you ahead. And so I really love that you said that. But let me add the flip side. What's the number one thing holding most people back from growth and promotions? Is it being inflexible or is there something?
No, it's being quiet.
Okay.
Closed mouth doesn't get fed. I'm sorry. I need you to tell me because not everybody's the same. Some people are happy doing their jobs, pushing the button, doing the thing, and that's it. They want to come in, do their jobs, go home. They're happy. They want nothing else. And I love that for you. But if you are somebody who is growth focused and that's part of what you want as your career, if I don't know that, I can't help you, right? I tell people, talk to your managers. Let your manager know that you would like to be on a growth trajectory or some career path that puts you in a different place. What do you have in mind? And I always tell people, it doesn't matter where you work, your career is your responsibility. It's not your manager's responsibility. It's yours. Doesn't matter where you work. Manager doesn't have a crystal ball either. I want you to be the very best at whatever it is that you're doing. I want you to be as happy as you possibly can be. But if I don't know that your ultimate goal is some promotion or some other role or whatever it is, taking something on, how can I help you get there?
You could be very lucky and have an amazing boss, which happens sometimes. Sometimes. But for the most part, it is up to you. And today at my company, we're doing performance reviews and I'm managing calibrations. And we're talking about our top employees and it always comes up, Johnny did these things without being asked. Johnny in our one-to-ones asked me how they can grow and is consistently curious about how they can grow and develop. And they're the ones pushing their career. And then they get rated top performer, and then you get more money because you are consistently showing up as a top performer. And it all starts with, like you said.
And that's great. But let's not conflate being a top performer with somebody who wants to grow their career as well. Because you could be happy exactly where you are, excel, be amazing, but never want to move from that role.
That's fair.
Never want to, leave. And
The point, though, is you're right. You do not need to go and do all that. But generally, at most companies, in order to make more money,
Yes, you
you
have to
have to find a
outperform.
way to play the game a little bit.
Yes, you do. You do. You do. I've had the situation where I've had to pull people along who didn't want to like come along, you know? Like, you're doing great. Wouldn't you like to? And I remember a job that I was at, my manager had me on a trajectory that was, would have eventually replaced her, basically heading benefits, payroll, compensation, HRIS. And I had thought about that. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Why? Because you're doing great at all these other things. You've done these things. You're just missing the compensation piece. You can learn that. And I was like, no, I see your stress. I don't want. I'm good being your number two. Like, this is good for me. And at that time, that was what I wanted, right?
Know where you want to
Strong
go.
performer, but that was what I wanted. I didn't want anything else. Now you talk to me a little bit more about it. I don't know.
I was always told, never tell your boss or somebody that's over you say no more than twice. And so if somebody was like, hey, Trish, time to jump into compensation, would you do it now, looking back?
What I do, probably.
And that's a whole different beast. And so I'm not going to go down there, but just curious.
No, I would, because I think we've had this conversation. I like to catch all the Pokemon. You gotta catch them all. And I think there's nothing wrong with more knowledge, but if you are armed with the knowledge, then you could say whether or not you would want to do the thing. I think saying no outright is probably not, I guess you have to know yourself. For me, I just didn't want the added responsibility at the time and the stress that I saw that she was under. I didn't think that I wanted to handle that. I know that I could have, right? But I also think that you don't know until you've been exposed to something, whether or not you will like it or not. So I said no offhand, but who knows? I might have loved compensation. I like money. I like numbers. Maybe I would have loved compensation,
Well, it was right for you. I need to take a pivot because since you're payroll and I have to do this, and you might not tell me anything, but I have to ask the question.
Yes.
I get a paycheck every other Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Is there ways that I could be maximizing my paycheck and my benefits? Are there ways that I could be more strategic just about in my corporate job to be like squeezing a couple more bucks out of my paycheck? I'm not asking free legal stuff. I'm just wondering, are people doing paychecks and taxes wrong, you think maybe?
Yes. Now, especially as tax time comes up now, my inbox goes crazy because people don't realize that the withholding tables from what you're paying on your paycheck does not match up with the IRS tax tables at the end of the year when you pay your taxes now. You're probably taking home more money now than you should be. So I get a lot more people like, I don't understand why I owe taxes when I filed now, because it doesn't align, especially as if you are a higher, then you're out of whack. And I tell people now, and I've had some C-suite people that I've said the same thing to, like, hey, you need to be paying a little bit more tax on your regular paycheck because you're going to owe at the end of the year. I literally had that conversation with somebody maybe 3 weeks ago. So that's a very common one that I get now. Other than that, I think people don't take advantage of their work benefits as much as they probably should. And I have a third one, especially when people are younger, they just don't know. Even if you're on your parents' medical, for example, I probably would encourage, and I have encouraged, I have a little sister who's 20 years younger than I am, sign up for your HSA. Sign up for the HSA, go the max into your HSA. You can use that thing to invest in the market. Your HSA goes with you from company to company. It is your money. It is not like a flexible spending plan. And I think not enough people take advantage of an HSA if it's available to that.
I want to double down on this because I remember back when I didn't have kids, wasn't married, and generally at tech companies, they have a plan that's completely free. It's the high deductible plan, and it comes with, $1,000 to $1,500 in the HSA or the FSA, or I'm speaking wrong here.
HSA.
In the HSA, they give you money
Mm-hmm.
to pay for your deductibles. And generally, if you're a younger person in your 20s and your 30s and you're not a doctor, you get a free $1,500 every single year that goes with you, whatever company. Now, had I paid attention to that, I would have $10,000 at least sitting just in a bank account for doing nothing. But
Yes.
I'm young. I don't know. That's all that insurance stuff and benefit stuff is for the old people with families. And now I'm an old dude with the family. Looking back, if I would have just signed up for the card that was free for the money that they give for free, is it $1,500?
It changes every year, the amount.
It's some great amount that you get, and a lot of times they front load it. right?
Yeah, sometimes the company will load it, and sometimes they do it per paycheck. Sometimes they will. It depends. Every company is different. Some will give you actually money into your HSA. Some you have to put money into, but they're all kinds of benefits, and they're all set up
But
differently. But yeah,
so the takeaway here is if you are somebody in your 20s or early 30s,
and you're healthy, and you're healthy,
and you're healthy. That's true. I know you do not care about what we're talking about right now. I know somebody probably just turned off because it's HSA benefits, but I'm telling you right now, if you want to have a bunch of extra money that you didn't have to do anything for, especially in times like this, because the point of my question was, how do we make more money? Sign up for HSA, reach out to me, reach out to Trish. I won't tell them to reach out to you about HSA, but reach out to the person that works at your benefits department and sign up for it. And it takes you 10 minutes and you will thank your future self. Your future self will thank you if you do this.
I have money from my 20s. I'm in my 40s, and I have money from my 20s and my HSA right now, right now. The last thing I want to say is automate your savings. Your payroll will allow you to have multiple accounts that your money's deposited into. Have a separate account that you don't touch, and part of it goes into it directly every time you get paid. You have no idea how much just that automated savings will mean to you. I'm not even talking about 401k or anything like that. Specifically automated savings, especially now. Studies have shown that most Americans could not afford an emergency of $1,000 or more. If you don't have that money, you're dipping into a credit card, you're borrowing money from somebody else. The best way to do it, and easiest way to do it, is to add a savings account or a checking account that maybe it's just online that you don't have ready access to. And every time you get paid, have your direct deposit, have a little bit of money go in there. You won't notice it for the most part. Many people don't, and it'll be there for your rainy day fund. That's the first thing. The first line of building wealth is to have an emergency fund, and many of us do not.
And to your point, it doesn't have to be a bunch of money every time, because I know people living paycheck to paycheck. If you could do $25 a month or a paycheck, I have my wife, she has a bank account. I was like, put money there. I don't want to know about the account number. I don't want to know the balance, because otherwise I probably won't squirrel money away and living in California with kids and all that. But yes, even the tiniest amount, you turn around a couple of years later and you're like, oh my gosh, if I would have just started even sooner, I'd have had it. Okay. One more thing about making more money, and then we'll move to the next segment. When we want to make more money, it's get promoted or get a new job.
Why are we asking for money at work too?
And that's my question. If you're going to perform well, ask the whys, add value, and you feel like I've actually earned my keep here at this job, I feel like I should get a raise. Yes. What do you think the best way to approach asking for a raise? Because it's really intimidating to be like,
this is great. I'll share with you what I do. This is my handy dandy notebook. You know what's in this notebook? It's my accomplishments for the year. How have I added value? What have I done? Because you're going to forget. I forget. I don't know I'm busy doing my work throughout the year. I'm busy. I have no memory. I write it down, because when the time comes for reviews, what am I going to say that I've done? People naturally remember the things that you've done. It's what have you done for me lately? What have you done in the last 3 months? They're going to remember that. But what happened to the thing that you did 9 months ago? What happened to the project that you completed then ago? What happened to the money that you saved the company? What about the efficiency that you created for the organization? There are different things and accomplishments that you have that you will forget about. And when you're asking for a raise, it's not an emotional, or for some kind of increase, it's not an emotional conversation. It has to be driven by facts, how you've contributed to the organization, the difference that you've made, and say, this is what I've done. This is why I believe that I'm worthy of X or Y or Z, more or whatever it is. And it can't just be, oh, my bills are crazy. Everybody's bills are crazy, right? It's, let me flip back to my handy dandy notebook, and I just happen to have a hardcover one. It's right here on my desk, but you don't need a handy.
You can do it in Google Docs and keep a running list. You can look at your one-to-one notes, and now you can have ChatGPT say,
exactly,
take my one-to-one notes. But I think the point to you, what you mentioned here, is document. And it doesn't take a bunch of time. It's just as you're going, quick bullet point, did this thing, went successful. Document everything. Now throw it into ChatGPT. And I think a lot of people are going through review cycles right now. People actually read them. If managers actually read them, what you write actually matters. And I remember once again being early in my career, like, none of this matters. It does. It actually, people really do read it. And people will make decisions on promotions and additional pay by what you're writing in review, because if you take the time to be thorough, oh shoot, I forgot about that thing or those things they mentioned. It does matter. And to your point, I love that you have the book right there.
Oh yeah.
Keeping track.
If I'm fighting for a promotion for you, if I've recommended you to have a promotion, I'm going back to my notes in my one-on-one. It can't just be, oh, so-and-so's been here for 2 or 3 years. I think they deserve a promotion. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Pat on the head. Bye.
It's not about the time. It is about the impact that you have had in that role.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I do it as a person who would advocate for somebody reporting to me. You should do it advocating for yourself.
Okay. Write it down, document. All right, moving on to the next segment, the playbook. We're talking about being an entrepreneur.
I love this.
You built a business all while excelling, doing your corporate job.
Yes.
Multi-part question. What made you jump into entrepreneurship? What are you doing? Give me some more about how you're balancing. Like, why did you even start? Because one job, like you said, is enough. And then you have a side business on top of it, which is its own job.
Yep.
Why did you start that? And then, like, what made you jump into that? And how are you making it work?
So a couple of things. I started the side business simply because I had a lot of student loans. I'm like a lot of people. Grad school was not cheap. I paid for that thing out of my pocket. And I had undergrad loans on top of it. I think at the time I probably owed a good $65,000 or $70,000 in loans. And, I wasn't making that much money. The student loan payments were rent, basically. That's what it was. And I needed to make extra monies. At first it was just like, I'm just going to work on the side a little bit to make some extra money. But then when I was actually working in HR, it hit me. And I developed a philosophy that said, never depend on your job for 100% of your income. That's the philosophy that I developed sitting on the HR side. Why? Nobody who works in HR can say that they haven't seen people laid off, or on the flip side, that we haven't been the victims of a layoff.
Right.
So you think about having one single source of income, all of your eggs in one particular, it might be a nice basket, beautiful basket, but what happens when that rug is pulled out from you and that basket is emptied? And let's say you are the sole source of income for your family. That happened to me. I was working in the investment banks in New York when the market crashed. There was a tech crash. I'm old, so that happened, the tech bubble. And I was working at Credit Suisse at the time. And one day they laid off 5,000 people. I was in their headquarters. You have no idea what that is like unless you have been a part of that. It literally was, you see the phone call hit one desk to the next desk to the next, and you see it coming around and you're down the line. It's going to hit you. And people are packing up their boxes to go out the door day after day after day. That changes you. And it definitely changed me. And then being on the flip side of it, having to tell people that they've been laid off. I remember there's one person who will stick with me for the rest of my life. It's been probably 10, 12 years, and I still remember it. Telling this gentleman, he was an older gentleman, probably in his late 80s, had been with the company for over a decade. Manager loved him, performed great, but we had to balance who was getting laid off. Younger, older, male, female, all those things. And he just, luck of the draw, it just happened to be his time. And at the time I was given the layoffs that would be maybe difficult because I had the empathy and, I was calm and people kind of reacted well to me. And I delivered that news to him that he was being let go, and I helped him pack his boxes. And you're used to people being angry, upset, the whole gamut of emotions. But here's why he stuck with me and why he will stick with me for the rest of my life. I take the elevator down with him, go down the elevator. He turns and looks at me and he says, "Thank you so much." But the look on his face when I had to deliver the news that he was like, what am I supposed to do next?
Yeah.
And because of that, I never wanted that to happen to me. Like, what am I supposed to be doing next? This is the thing that pays my bills, that, drives my family, that I live off of.
Right.
And that philosophy of never depending on your job for 100% of your income made me want to help other people as well develop their own side businesses, side hustles, whatever it is, income outside of work, whether it's just to supplement and pay your student loans, or in case you lose your job, you can at least pay your rent, or you can get food or something to tide you over. And that's been driving me for, oh my gosh, I want to say 17, 18 years, for a long time. And I've been lucky enough to win awards off of the work that I've done and the people that I've worked with to help them develop their own side hustles and side businesses as well.
And so is that your actual side hustle, is helping people build it up?
Helping people create micro and small businesses. So that MBA in small business entrepreneurship comes in handy, but also financial education. It started off with just financial education, and it's like morphed and evolved into other things because it's all in the same area. But I really specialize in helping people find and create and build a small business based on their expertise and skills as well.
So, and I'm going to ask you at the end of this, but you still do that, right? So people could actually reach out to you to.
Yeah, people can actually still.
I'm gonna get your info and we'll put it up here. But I'll be booking a session too. In the interest of time, let me skip to what are the biggest challenges for balancing? You have this, I think we talked, you said right as soon as you're done with this podcast, you're going to go right back to work.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenges of balancing both? I know obviously being a mom as well, but what are the challenges and how do you do it?
I have to say that I don't have balance, and I will be the first one to acknowledge that. It is very, very difficult to do all the things and say that you have balance. I will say that I've been very good at trying to compartmentalize things. Certain times, I have time blocks. So certain time in the morning, that's strictly for my son. It is not for work. I am not answering emails. I'm not looking at the phone. I'm in mom mode. When my son is gone, this is work time, right? And then I have like family time, like Friday evenings, we have family movie night. I'll be on the couch with the family at some point. Sometimes the computer will come with me. Sundays, I reserve for my side business from helping people, whatever. So for me, my calendar is my very best friend. I have to schedule things out because if it's not in the calendar, it does not happen at all. It's not going to happen. But things happen when you have small kids. My son needs mom. So, at certain times at the end of the day, I'm mom. This is mom time. Does work creep into mom time? Yes, it does. It will sometimes. But my son also understands, mom's doing this or mom's doing that. But there have been times that I've been very guilt-ridden about it. I remember one time I said something to my son and he was coming, I have a home office, so we're in my own home office, and he's going out the door and my husband's coming down the hallway and he's like, shh, mom has to work. And my gosh, the guilt, right? Mom has to work. So I've been very good at scheduling like, okay, this block of time in the day is for my son. This block is for my son. Family movie night is Friday night. Saturday is for my whole entire family. Now, Sunday, I schedule, my business time. Sundays used to be start work on Sunday night because I have to deal with Asia and Asia's online on Sunday nights. But now I've like recaptured that time. So yeah, that's how I personally balance because otherwise there is none. Work will take over your life.
You've been a super mom and a super hustler, and I'm inspired. And I really hope that people that are interested, and leading to my next question, that are interested in trying to start something, reach out to you because I've personally seen your hustle and your knowledge and your actual care about it, which is, I know people that have side businesses and side hustles, never seen them be as thorough and thoughtful about other people and helping other people as you and have been consistent. So anyway,
let me encourage. So my friend, Tiffany Alice, has a series called Get Good with Money. It was on PBS recently. I think they'll replay it. It was on PBS. The last night from when we're recording this, but she also has a New York Times bestselling seller. It's called Get Good with Money. Get the book. My advice is also in this book about earning more. So get the book as well. And she's a great resource. I'm in her academy teaching people how to start their own small businesses as well. So you can start there.
Okay, this is dope. All right. I personally need to make sure that you and I are staying more connected on this one. There's a lot of people that are like, I know I need to be doing something because I can't have just all my eggs in one basket.
Yes.
Or I need more money, or I've just always had a desire. A lot of people want to start the side hustle, but they feel stuck. What's your advice to get started?
What are you getting paid to do right now? Is your job not paying you for something? They are. Why can you not do that thing outside of work? That's the first thing. People think they have to start something completely different. No, you don't. Or if it is not what you're doing at work, what talent can you monetize? What is it that you know? I remember during the pandemic, sisters were starting like side businesses with cookies and things like that because they were really good at bakery and ended up creating like really good businesses with things like that. Great. That's your passion. That's what you love to do outside of work. Monetize that. But if you have a job right now and someone is paying you to do that job, that's the first step to monetizing and starting a side hustle. If you are doing HR, can you be a consultant for smaller businesses outside of work? Or can you provide information? Can you answer questions? Are you on any one of these apps where you can be an expert and you can answer questions and get paid to do that? Like, it doesn't have to be a big thing. People think it needs to be, I have to create this business and I have to do this thing. No, it doesn't have to be like that. You can start small and build. But first, you start with your expertise and start with what you're currently getting paid to do at your job is the very first thing I would advise people.
Keep it simple.
Yes. Okay. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't reinvent the wheel.
I finally realized that where I'm like, I've been doing HR now. I need to just stay in my lane. I've tried to do phone loaner programs. I've done every type of business under the sun. And they were all great businesses, but like I didn't have the capital, the time, the knowledge to there's all these things versus like, what can you do that's right?
But there's a micro business that might need your help right now. Maybe they only have 20, 25 employees. They can't afford an HR person, but maybe they can afford to pay Brian Bell for consultation on a monthly retainer where they have X amount of hours that they can reach out to Brian, or they have a problem that they're not sure how to solve. And Brian's charging X amount of dollars per hour to help, with that. Man, let me tell you, the money is out there if you know how to, if you think about ways that you can monetize what you're currently doing.
Last question on this section, but what's the best financial lesson you've learned from being a business owner?
That's a great question. I think it doesn't take as much money as people think, and do not throw good money after bad. It's the best lesson I've learned. What do I mean by that? I've seen people create all sorts of businesses and they put a lot of money into things when they don't need to put so much money in. We are in an age of technology when you can start very small, very cheaply. You can leverage technology to do a lot of things that even big businesses are doing. You do not need thousands and thousands of dollars to create a successful and profitable business. And if it's not working out, it's fine that it's not working out. It doesn't mean that you need to dump more money into it. It means you may need to pivot. That's one of the lessons that I learned. Don't throw good money after bad. And you don't need to dump a ton of money into a business. Start as small as you possibly can.
How do you know if you're throwing too much money? Like, are there any indicators?
Yeah, that's a great question because you get emotional about your business.
Right.
That's your baby, that you created it. You don't know. You won't know.
Okay.
You won't. Sometimes it takes a disinterested third party to say, hey, or maybe it may be your bank account going into the negative that makes you finally pull their plug. But, if you are doing your business's financials and you see it, like this, or you've been plugging at it for a very long time and you have no upside, at some point you have to be willing to ask yourself, how much more am I willing to put into this? And it is an emotional question.
Okay. All right. Last segment, because we're already coming up in an hour, which is amazing. If you're good, we'll go over a little bit more because I want to ask a few more questions. The next segment is sticky situations. Let's talk about just tough career and leadership decisions. As a leader, what would you say is your hardest decision you've ever had to make?
Always will forever be when to let go of somebody. Always. And because I'm a people person, I will be the person that will give somebody umpteen chances before I'd be willing to let go of somebody. I'm willing to coach. I'm willing to suggest a class. I'm willing to do X, Y, or Z because I know that it's very difficult, to be on the receiving side of getting that, notice that you're no longer employed. And I have that empathy. I feel for people. I'm always willing to give another chance and another chance and another chance.
Has that burned you? Like, if you were going to give advice to another leader, would you say do the same thing? Or would you say fire fast? I've heard all the time, fire fast and pivot and all that other stuff. What would you recommend to somebody else? That's
the new philosophy, to fire fast. If they come in and they're not cutting it right away, fire them right away. And get another one right away. I don't know if that gels with my soul, just who I am as a person. I would rather take the time to be slow to hire, and I'm a little bit slower to get rid of people because I would have been looking for somebody who would have been coachable, teachable, etc. at the get-go. If somebody is just unwilling or just completely not working out in any way, shape, or form, bad hire, bad on you who hired, fine. But if it's somebody who you can work with, and especially, as I mentioned before, personalities are very big for me. If you are a really good person who I feel like I could work with, you're coachable, you're teachable, I'm more willing to give you more of an opportunity than not. But has it burned me? Absolutely, it's burned me. Absolutely. I've been slow to fire. And then, the work piles up when you get rid of somebody, and then you have to juggle all of the pieces and all of the things, right? When you probably could have gotten rid of somebody earlier and gotten somebody else in. Absolutely, it has burned me before. But I still think, like, in my heart of a heart, my soul of souls, it is very difficult for me to get rid of somebody because I am first hiring, one, on skills and expertise, second, on a connection that I make with that person. So, it is harder for me to get rid of people.
How do you handle that self-doubt? You got to make the big decision if it's not just about firing somebody, but if it's about the big tool that you have to make a big purchase on, or you tell the company, there's the Silicon Valley fiasco. I know you were a part of that. I mean, there's big decisions that you weren't a part of it. You had to manage it like a lot of other people. I want to be very clear. You had nothing to do with the fiasco. But these big decisions that a lot of times rides on you, not just because you're in payroll, but because you're a leader. How do you handle the self-doubt? You have to make this big decision. You have to stand on it. Are there any principles that you hold in doing that?
Yeah. I think having a good team and good people that you can bounce your thoughts off of is very important. Brian and I've discussed this. I have really, really bad imposter syndrome. And it's something that I've been working on for a very, very long time. But I've learned that what makes me more comfortable is having trusted people who I can talk to outside of and bounce ideas off of. I think nobody's an island unto themselves. But if you get a good group of people or one or two people that you can say, hey, I need your opinion on this. What's your thought process on this? What do you think about this? I think that's really important. Sometimes it's outside of the business that you're in. So I have a cousin who's in HR, actually works for the state in a pretty significant role. And we bounce things off of each other with our people all the time. And I trust her opinions, and because she'll see a different angle to the same thing that I see, right? And so she'll give me some insight that maybe I'm not thinking about this way. Maybe I can approach it that way. So having, I think, trusted people, your own little leadership team, maybe.
Don't go it alone.
No, I think it's very, very difficult to go it alone. And then you have all the stress that's like completely on you. At that point, I think when you've had outside opinion, you've taken that into consideration, you can firmly make a decision that you can stand on.
Yeah. Okay. That's practical, but it's also the best, I think. Find a small team. And if you don't have one,
create one.
Go and find and create the team. Good call.
Yes. I learned a good thing at Toyota. It sits with me called Nemawashi. And
wait, what's it?
Nemawashi.
Okay.
You go and seek information from other people and you come to like a consensus, a meeting of the minds. I learned a lot at Toyota. And so that's one of the things that sits with me. You come to like a consensus amongst other different people and different viewpoints. And then you make that decision, you're firm with that decision.
Yeah. Nemawashi.
Nemawashi.
Okay. We learned something new definitely today, some new language. All right. Last question on this segment before we close this thing out. This is a big question, but I need to get it from you. Best advice for dealing with a difficult boss or difficult work environment?
Well,
we know nothing about this. We know nothing about this, but if we did, how do you handle it?
Personality is just weird. I'm a very like calm, even kind of person. I approach things very like analytically for the most part. So what I try to do is I put myself in that person's shoes. Like, where are they coming from? What are they, what's driving them? Why are they this way? And I've always, when I've had to deal with people who are like that, found the easiest way to work with them. How do they work best? What's their communication style? What puts them at ease? So for example, does your boss prefer an email about things versus Slack? Okay, I'll meet you at Slack. Are you at I want to know every little thing that happens, or do I want the big picture, kind of person? You got to figure out their working style and conform to how they work best, because they're an individual too with their own stresses and people that they're dealing with and decisions that you might not know anything about that might make them a little bit more difficult to deal with. So I kind of put myself in their shoes and try to adapt my working style to the way that they work best. And that's really helped me in many ways. And it's also helped me learn how to deal with difficult people as well. I think being very even, not emotionally driven kind of person really helps. I'm going to have a conversation with you. I've had managers who've been like sat in the office all the time, but I wasn't, I'm a calm person, and it's like, okay, no problem. I get it. Why don't I come back, give you a couple of minutes? I'll come back, in a few minutes kind of thing. Because I'm not like reactive like that. And it's been very helpful for me, and also helpful, I think, as a manager to not be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be you shouldn't be reactive as an ICR manager, but especially it will save you a bunch by, but I need to keep my mouth shut. It's going to cause you more problems later if you don't. Yeah. Okay. 2-minute drill, quick, rapid response, question and answers. And then I want to get some info about you. Best career advice you've ever received.
Great. Listen twice, talk once.
Okay. Biggest financial mistake professionals should avoid.
Grading your lifestyle just because your pay goes up.
I've struggled with that one myself.
Every time I get a raise, I pretend it didn't exist. It goes into my 401k or my retirement savings.
I got a bonus. It's time for me to fly a private jet. What's one book or resource everyone should check out? You just showed us one. Would that be that one or someone else?
Yeah, if you're for finance, definitely get good with money. There's a book called Be the Unicorn, and it sits all with me because I like to try to be the unicorn as well. And it like they interview leaders across a decade or so and kind of come to a consensus of what makes a great leader. I can't remember exactly, but the book is called Be the Unicorn.
Be the Unicorn. All right, I'm going to pick it up. Final words of advice for people trying to level up in their career or life.
Don't be afraid. I think I was driven by fear for a very long time. I didn't speak up for myself. I didn't advocate for myself. I kind of let things go. I was very unsure. I let imposter syndrome drive me. But I think I reached a point in my life, maybe it's just maturity or whatever it is, that I've gotten a little bit more confident, speak up for myself. I ask for what I want. I have real conversations with people, and it's paid off, I think, innumerably for me, both in my career and personally as well. But that doesn't mean that you're, kind of like that. It is sit in a different position. Let's talk about how can I get there? Or there's a gap that I like to fill. How can I fill that? Or there's something that I think we could be doing better. Here's what I think about how we can be doing this better. Or even, I'm overworked and I need a break. There are different aspects to that. But I used to be the person who was just like, take everything, and never say anything.
Yep.
And I've learned to not do that. I've learned to like calmly push back when needed to be pushing back, to speak up for myself when needed, and to be my best advocate.
Don't lead with fear. Speak up for yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Trish, as always, I am just so thankful. I'm thankful for our friendship. I'm thankful for you being on the podcast. I'm thankful for all the nuggets that we've learned today. I'm going to chop this up. We're going to have so much. But for other people that don't have the advantage of me to have your number on speed dial, how can people find you? Do you have resources or a website or something so people can find you and learn how to, create their own side business or just learn more from you?
I'm all over the web, unfortunately. Under my pen name, I'm all over the web. And I'm almost reluctant to share it because when people see this and they see me, and if they know who I am,
whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah. There specifically, if you're looking for a side hustle or a side business or how to build that, Side Hustles with Sandy will help you. There is an automated, I forget how long the program is, to give you different suggestions of different things. You get on that mailing list and it will automatically send you something every 2 or 3 days to help you either create or build a side hustle. I think it's 30 days or something like that to help you. And that will lead you to different resources. And it's called Side Hustles with Sandy. Is it? Yeah, I think so. SideHustlesWithSandy.com.
Okay. SideHustlesWithSandy.com. Okay. Trish, as always, you're the best. Now, hopefully you can shut down. It's Friday evening. Go
Absolutely.
Your son. I appreciate you so much. This has been amazing. Once again, I'm Brian Bell. This is the Level Up Podcast. We've been talking with Tricia Mowatt, who is the Payroll HR side hustle entrepreneur extraordinaire. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for watching and listening from wherever you are. Bye.